Okay, so if you've checked the previous tutorial, then you know where to find, where to install the model files so that they'll show up in here. So to actually get access to your models, you'll need to click the little model icon, and you can import your own icon. It will show you where you need to install them, if in case you forgot, or you can open the folder from here as well, and that'll open the folder, and then you'll just paste the file into there. But clicking on this icon, if you've put your model in the correct folder, it will show up down here. Your thing will have this model by default, and then any other model you add. I made all of these, so I have like a stupid amount of them. These ones are also default that come with the software, but you can either download like my cutesy furry model, my hamster model. This tutorial is about the hamster model, so I'll show you that one. So we're going to go to the hamster model, and we're going to load it up. And sometimes the hamster model might load in gold, it might load in gray. By default, the original color of the hamster I did in gray. That way you can recolor it if needed. Let me double click. So now here you have your hamster, and he's all set up and ready to go. But if you find you do need to adjust some of the settings for it to track your face better, you can tinker with that stuff in here. So in this gear icon, this is where you can kind of adjust the model. First, you need to make sure that your webcam is working. So you'll have to choose what camera it is. Make sure your webcam is plugged in before you open VTube Studio. You can choose the camera, you can choose the tracking quality, and the tracking type. For example, mine is tracking, like if my webcam sees my hand, but I don't really... You can set hotkeys to hand tracking, so like if I hold up the one finger, it'll activate whatever hotkey I set there. But yeah, here, let me just go through that process. We're going to specify which webcam it is. For me, it's my HD Pro. It says the resolution. We're going to go with 1280 since that's what it recommends. 30 frames per second. And these options might be a little different depending on your individual webcam. Now we have the camera set, we have the tracking quality set. There's all sorts of different options. I go with 5. And then we need to make sure that you click camera on. That way, when it will load, now it knows, oh, okay, the camera's turned on, it's looking for your face, blah, blah, blah. So get that bad boy going. And still under this camera menu, here you can mess with other options. For example, let's say my camera loses view of my face, then the model will go back to its default pose. Or I can set it so that if my camera loses my face and my head's tilted over here, and now I'm going to cover my camera, my model will stay in the place that it last detected. I like to do go back in place. I haven't messed with most of these other things. I usually link eye blinking, but if you want to be able to try to wink, you can set it to never. This one is actually responding pretty well to winking, so I'll leave that on. You can adjust these settings here. Let's see, mouse smile sensitivity. Or mouth open. That way if I barely open my mouth. Whereas if it's lower, definitely feel free to tinker with these. I'll just do reset. I haven't messed with any of this stuff. You're going to have to look at other people's tutorials for these things, because I've literally never messed with any of them. But let me show you this menu here. Okay, so these are all the functions that tell VTube Studio how to translate the rigged motion into tracked motion. So, for example, actually let me change the mouth opening because it's not opening very well. Okay. So, for example, input is face angle X. Face angle X refers to the face looking to the left or looking to the right. And then it says output. The output is what's physically rigged into the model. So this is rigged animation that I have created in the software that I made this model in. Input is what your webcam is seeing and then says, okay, when the camera sees my face turn to the right, output the action of the model turning to the right. You can change this output to other things and do all sorts of weird stuff. Generally, I leave most of this stuff alone. But if you feel like maybe the model is leaning too far left or too far right, face lean rotation. This is using body Z, which is this, not to be confused with turning right, left, or looking up, down. This is straight up when my shoulders are tilting to the left or to the right. You can reduce this output or the sensitivity just by tinkering with these numbers. For example, if I make that half, then he won't lean near as far. Let me just set it to like 1. See, now his head doesn't lean. Sorry, I thought this was messing with the lean here, but it's actually messing with the lean in his head. So let me put those back at the defaults. So let's do the body lean, because that's what I was trying to explain. Okay, body rotation. So right now, when I lean to the left, my camera is seeing and designating the value of -35. When I go to the right, it's at positive. I can reduce the amount that this is affected, or let's say I can only lean a little bit because my chair. I can lower this number to like 5 and then -5. And then if I like barely move, like at all, he'll like shoot over there. Feel free to tinker with these numbers. You can always reset them back to default. But like, let's say you don't want your model to lean this far to the right. So I can reduce that. I can make it go to 5 instead of 10. That's half of it. So then this side he won't lean that far, but then this side he can still lean really far. I can just set this to 1. That way he can't really lean to the right at all, but he'll lean very far to the left. So that's a thing that you can tinker with. Feel free to mess with it. The most important ones are the extra ones that I've added here. So like this is brow controlled anger. What this does is when your eyebrows go up or down, you'll notice the top of his eyes here get a little like lower. I can remove that entirely just by putting it to 0. But I kind of like how it looks. Makes the model kind of more expressive. The same goes for smile, GG. So this is when your mouth smiles, it makes the lower eyelids kind of do this upward bend. You can remove that entirely if you find that this upward bend is distracting. Just change that to 0. And now when I smile, it doesn't do that. Or you can just reduce the amount that it's affected. Let's see, brow controlled shrink. So for example, when my eyebrows go up, these kind of shrink a little bit. I have them set to only be affected a little bit, but if you set it all the way to 1, now when my eyebrows go up, these shrink really small. This would probably be good if you were playing maybe a horror game. You could change the value there. I like to set a lot of functions to the eyebrow movement. This is brow controlled ears. So what that means is when my eyebrows go up, the ears kind of stay in their neutral pose, but when they go down, the ears go down. And you can like change that, reverse it. You can make it to like 1. So that when my eyebrows go up, they go up, and then when they're neutral, they're kind of in the middle, and then when they go down lower. I had it set to 0.5 just because I want the ears to be upright, but you can tinker with this if you want. You can also create new ones using other things. So for example, let's do the input of tongue out. Sure, why not? That's a random one. So wait, my camera may not be able to track that. That's iPhone only, so my camera won't understand that. Let's do... See, and they've added so many things since I started modeling that I don't know how. But let's do hand left found because my webcam is set to track my hand. And then output, I want to do this dread expression. I also have that set to a hotkey, but for now, if you wanted to make it track. Now, when I hold my left hand up, and let me show you what that looks like through my camera. See. Now when it detects my left hand is in view, this will turn on. You can also do this as a hotkey. This is just kind of, you can do that same thing in here. But I'm going to go ahead and remove that option. Actually, let's change the input. So let's say there's an option where like voice volume. So like, I don't know how to set this up, but if you start yelling or screaming really, really loud, you can set, or voice volume plus mouth open. I don't know how to set up the volume, so it's just doing it when my mouth is open. But you can probably have it set so that when your microphone gets a certain volume plus your mouth is open, this dread will turn on. So you can create all sorts of different things like that. Yeah, so that's kind of like the general beginnings of, you don't have to tinker with these, that's just like if you really want to. Or you can also turn off the movement config, so like when I lean left and right, like if you see his feet, they're kind of sliding across the screen. If you don't want them to do that, you want them to stay firmly in place, you can turn movement config off. It's good to have on if you're just going to be like down here, since they won't see your feet. It makes your model look a little more floaty. Whereas if I turn it off, it's a little less floaty. And then it can also detect like if I lean closer to the camera, the model gets closer, and if I lean away from it, it goes further back. So that's kind of like the basic adjustments within the camera menus here and here. And the next tutorial, I'll show you how to customize the model's colors, as well as I'll show you how to set up hotkeys.